Jurassic World, a movie that poses questions. Questions such as, at what point does homage become plagiarism of your own product? My name is Felix Jones and Lego Cheetah, and welcome to my review of Jurassic World, which is late as ever because all my reviews are late because they don't get the films out in the UK until a bit later than they have them in America. So I've already heard a lot of the Americans' opinions on this movie so far, and to be fair, most of them hold up. So yeah, I know I'm coming into yet another movie after the last two reviews I've done with Sykes. I can't speak, unfortunately Sykes isn't going to be here for this one. He's in America, actually, speaking of it, probably delivering some well-deserved payback for the late films. Anyway, since he can't be here, it's just me, and I hate to do another review about a movie that was once again not very good, but c'est la vie. It's not been a great summer so far, but I'm going to see I'm going to see Mr. Holmes tomorrow with Ian McKellen, which should hopefully be better. Anyway, oh, and also a quick channel update. I have got my next Pop Culture Alcoholic review coming out. This is going to be my new reviewing location, hence all the memorabilia. Probably going to see if I can get a bit more over the next little while. Anyway, so yeah, hopefully I'm going to have that released just after I've released this video. Unfortunately, it's not a Misfits review as I originally said it was going to be. I bought several copies of the DVD, and none of them worked on my computer. I assume it's just because it was such an awful series, and I tried in several different ways of getting it to work. I bought loads of good different copies, and yeah, it was just there was no way of getting around it, so unfortunately I had to move on to something else. But I've explained it all in the context of the video anyway. I won't say exactly what it is, but let's just say, you know, me changing my location, it's not in order for me to distract from the poor quality of the piece that I'm working on. You know, with the writing and the characters, like, I'm staying because I think that I can still do a good job, and I don't need to distract my audience with changing everything like some people. Anyway, right, let's talk about Jurassic World. So what can be said that hasn't been said about this movie already? Predictable, not very interesting, 2D cutout characters, a lot of CGI, next to no practical effects whatsoever. I think there was only one scene that comes to mind that had practical effects in it, and even then it was very, very brief. For me, what I heard a lot about this movie was that despite the poor quality, let me just talk about what I just said. Predictable, yes it is, it's very predictable. 2D characters, absolutely, abso-bloody-lutely. You've got your two kids who you see in the trailer, and the reason we have two kids is because we can't have a Jurassic Park movie without having kids being involved to run around and do this and that. In fact, a lot of this movie is a 2D cutout, is a cheap cutout of the previous Jurassic Park movies, just like the other two sequels. You've got your two kids there. You've got your main man, who's Chris Pratt. I'm not a big Chris Pratt fan. I liked him in Her, and in obviously the Lego Movie is great, but in both those the idea that he was supposed to be that he was kind of a generic guy, and that's just how I find him to be. And like in this and Guardians of the Galaxy and just everything else he's working on, you know, he's always doing this smile. He's like, you know, I'm supposed to be charming because of this weird half smile that they give me, and the fact that I'm constantly surrounded by women who want to sleep with me. He doesn't really leave much of an impression on me. If anything, I find him quite grating. Your female lead, she is dead behind the eyes, like this woman, and at first that makes sense. Like the first time you see her, because she works at the park and she's like a tour guide, and she's presenting herself to these people and she's doing a big smiley face, and it kind of works there because I was like, oh god, dead eyes, but yeah, it's intentional because she's putting on an act for the people that she's presenting the tour to. But then after that she still stays dead-eyed throughout it, and she goes through I'd like to say character arc, but it's more like for the first 10 seconds she's one particular way, and then she changes just really abruptly 10 seconds after we meet her. It's just really doesn't work. I mean, in fact, let's just say it's exactly the same thing that Dr. Grant goes through in Jurassic Park. She starts off steely cold, and then she becomes emotionally warm and insightful and blah 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 blah. Oh god. So yeah, characters not very good. The kids very forgettable. You got your nerd kid and your feckless kid. Whatever. The older brother. If you see this movie, just keep an eye on his facial expressions. They are so weird. Like half the time he looks like the entire world is just a mystery to him. He's walking around like this. It's just, sorry, that probably went on for a bit longer than it was meant to, but it's so bizarre though. He keeps distracting me with his odd facial expressions. Like you say to somebody, okay, let's go do this something, and then he'll carry. It's like he's having a fit. I hope he doesn't have a condition or anything, otherwise I feel bad about saying that. But yeah, then there are scenes where he's like staring at girls, and the girl's supposed to be finding it charming, and he's staring like this. It's just. It's almost Napoleon Dynamite-ish, except for if you really exaggerated it. Anywho, so yeah, and then you've got the nerd kid who's just generic nerd, and he's still not as good as Jimmy from or Timmy, but sorry, I shouldn't really know, but from Jurassic Park, because at least he really seemed like he had a passion, and he was really keen and excited, and he, is funny. This one's just like, nerdy kid, fairly bland, nothing really to say for myself. Right, so, characters, yes, predictable. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was the other thing. Everybody who ever gets eaten in this movie, it's a monster movie, so obviously people get eaten. Everyone who ever gets eaten in this movie, you know as soon as you see them that they're going to get eaten, because they're all vulgar or abrasive, and it's no fun spending time with them. Then again, it's no fun spending time with any of the cast of this movie, so that's not really saying too much. And yeah, so well, basically, I mean, they kind of try and top themselves. Not top themselves, like kill themselves, they try and one-up themselves, or rather the people who made, Steven Spielberg or whoever worked on the other Jurassic Park movies. I'm assuming that Spielberg didn't do Jurassic Park 2 or 3, at least not 3. Anyway, they're trying to, they've got the extra big dinosaur that we all hear about, but on top of that they've got, they're trying to go into overkill. Like there's this one particular character who gets killed. I didn't even think that she of all the people was only like ever so slightly more unpleasant than any of the other characters, because at one point she's talking on the phone. I don't want to spoil anything. I'm just going to say that, well, actually no, this isn't spoilers. This happens really early on. And she's going to die anyway. This one character who dies doesn't matter in the slightest. She's the British woman who's put in charge. I guess even British is one of those what's the word? Is a ethnic minority at this point, where because we're having her killed off just like you would kill off the black guy at the beginning of every horror movie. I was like, is British the new black guy in horror movies? Not that I think that's right at all. I'm just saying it, and obviously we're not an ethnic minority. That was a joke. I shouldn't have to explain myself so much. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, she's put in charge of these two kids, and they intentionally run away from her when she's on the phone, and then that's supposed to be enough of a bad thing to do for her to be killed off. And yeah, I couldn't keep hold of two kids whilst even if I weren't on the phone, even if I were giving them my undivided attention, I couldn't keep hold of two kids who actually ran away from me. So yeah, that really wasn't deserved, and the way they killed her was like really slow and clunky. Like first she gets, the big pterodactyl scene for the trailer. Of course you do, because that's one of the biggest parts of the trailer. She gets picked up and then dropped, and then picked up and then dropped, and then thrown into the water, and then she gets picked up again, and then the huge thing comes out. The huge crocodile crocozilla comes out and eats her, just like in the trailer, and it's just so unnecessary, and it's not entertaining. So yeah, like I say, the characters really weren't interesting at all. What else really bothered me? There was nothing fun about it. In like the last 10 minutes, it did sort of look like it might be going somewhere that would be quite fun. This certain almost unpredictable thing happens and you think, oh wow, this could actually be a fun. No, I mean it doesn't. It's inconsequential, but it could still be a laugh. And then it goes, and it's the beginning of one of the many action scenes, obviously, and it just doesn't work. As soon as the actual action scene starts taking place, I'm just thoroughly unentertained. I was like, oh, this shows promise. Nothing. And one thing that really was getting to me throughout this movie, though, but like I say, bad characters, fine performances, but no, actually not even fine performances, because the female lead seems pretty cut out. Oh god, it was repeating itself over and over again. Oh yeah, like I was saying, they've got all the things that they do in all the other Jurassic Park movies. There's that scene where two people are having a conversation. There's an anecdote about a long time ago. It's meant to be heartwarming, and it's not. It's just a reminder of what the better film I could be watching. And also they keep going over things saying, oh look, this was in the first movie, this was in the first movie, this was in the first movie. Again, don't want to see it. It's not worth anything. But the thing that was really bothering me was the music. The music in this movie is really generic and just insipid. It was I think the first thing that started to key me that things were going wrong was that they were bringing in the Jurassic Park music again, the main theme from John Williams' original score, and they were bringing it in at weird times, really confusing times. Like there's the when they first see the theme park, they start playing the big music, bom bom ba dum dum, and it doesn't work because it's just a theme park. I mean, when admittedly Jurassic Park was originally just a theme park, but the first time they used that piece of music, like pretty much the only time that they use that piece of music, is when they're flying towards the island, and it's huge. That's different because that's an actual island. It's full of mystery and beauty. Whereas this is just like looking at a picture of Disneyland and then slapping the Jurassic Park music on top of it. It's not really that impressive. It's not full of wonder or anything. What else is there? Yeah, so like I said, that wasn't really good. It did get me missing John Williams, and I could tell that it wasn't John Williams, and if any, by the end, because that one bit where I said it seemed like it showed some promise and then it didn't, what it really could have used was a bit of Williams there, because if you're not having fun, Williams' music will bring some more life to a scene. It'll make it, even if it makes it over the top, but that would make it more fun because it's quite silly. And since I did the Superman 2 review about 9 months ago, I've just really enjoyed the works of John Williams, and it was a real shame that we didn't have him. I really think he could have brought a lot more to the table on this film, but then again, that would have really just been polishing a turd at this point. Well, not a turd. It's not really that terrible. It just doesn't belong as part of the Jurassic Park franchise. It's similar to all the things that Screen Junkies guys were saying on their movie fights about a week or so ago, and this thought popped into my head whilst I was watching the movie, that they were talking about what the ideal sequel would be to this Jurassic Park, and the thought of a sequel to Jurassic World just filled me with dread. I was like, I can't deal with another one of these. Where this is it. I've given you my time. You have thoroughly wasted it. Pretty much, it's not been fun. It's not been memorable. It's been a cutout, and I could have actually spent this time watching Jurassic Park instead. I don't want another one of these movies. I don't want to see any more Chris Pratt, frankly, but it looks like that's inevitable since they're talking about him being the next Indiana Jones. Oh God, I really don't want to see any more Pratt. Anyway, anything else I wanted to talk about in that movie? Like I say, it's all overkill, and it's desperately trying to amaze and shock and thrill. Actually, much like it's kind of meta, because the actual park in the movie is constantly saying, "Oh, we need to be more thrilling. We need to one-up ourselves." The movie is trying to do the exact same thing, and it totally fails to do so, whilst making many references to the problems that it has, because it's not fair, because it's failing to one up itself, and it just there's no heart to it. There's no real feeling of effort put in. It's just generic. It's just a generic monster movie, like any other monster movie, with all your obvious characters who are brash and vulgar and therefore need to die, and the obvious good guys who are going to make it through. Oh, and God, there's a love story as well between guess which characters. Oh Christ! And it's not remotely worked out. It's just like, oh, we're in love now. Just don't waste your time with this movie. Frankly, I didn't think it was fun. I thought it was just boring, and despite having maybe one or two moments where I thought, yes, I might be enjoying myself here, I might be being gripped, for the most part it was just very, very boring. And one last thing actually was that in the first Jurassic Park movie, that one reasonably good choice that they made was that when Jurassic Park gets taken down, admittedly the area was already dangerous. There were certain flimsy problems that so there was probably going to be some small disaster eventually, but the main cause of the disaster was I've forgotten what his name is in the context of the film, Newman or whatever. The the huge guy, the huge hacker guy with the glasses, who was who was in Seinfeld, I think, or you know who I'm talking about. He takes down the entire system, and then that is the main cause of all that takes place. Whereas in this movie, because there is no hacker or one singular cause, then you've just got or one singular cause for all of this mayhem and destruction. Then you've got loads of different things. Like there are constantly phones that aren't properly working and stuff like that. You just think how many tiny things could go wrong. It's really it starts to feel really contrived. God, I wish I'd just watched Jurassic Park. I mean, I didn't see Jurassic Park when I was younger. I probably saw Jurassic World more times than I saw Jurassic Park. But Jurassic Park, I watched it properly all the way through the other day, and I didn't have the quality of not knowing how the story was going to go. I pretty much knew from the beginning how the story was going to go because it gets referenced all the time. But it was still really entertaining, and it's actually quite a moving story. It's not just a monster movie. It's a story about a guy a guy learning to become an adult and being able to care for some children who have at least relatively defined personalities. Whereas the kids in this movie have not got relatively defined personalities, and despite the fact we're doing that same thing again, it just doesn't work as well. The characters aren't as likable. I mean, Dr. Grant, when he comes into contact with the children in Jurassic Park, it's not like he is. It's not like he chose to not be with them for all this time. Sorry, I'm really poorly phrasing this, but basically in this film, you've got your kids, you've got your female lead. Female lead is kids' aunt. They never see each other, which personally doesn't bother me. I mean, I haven't seen most of my aunts in like a decade. I've got like three aunts, and I never see any of them. It doesn't bother me, but anyway, they think in this movie the big thing is that they need to become friendly together, and why? Firstly, why? Secondly, how the hell am I supposed to get behind a character who spent so long actively avoiding her own nephews? Not that I would think that that they make it out like it's an important thing. She chose to be absent, therefore she's an estranged relative. Whereas Dr. Grant was just coming in contact with some children that he'd never met before. He was going through an emotional crisis at the time. Well, at least he was going through emotional conflict, and it was a naturally occurring solution. Either way, it's very difficult. It doesn't work as well. How am I supposed to like the characters in order to wish them to get together? It's just kind of pointless. Forget it. Forget the point. I mean, no, I'm sure you probably got what I'm trying to stab at here. Is the fact that I can't bring myself to like a woman who intentionally became estranged to her nephews, and I can't be that keen for them to get back together, especially because I know nothing about either party. At least they didn't stoop to making a female lead in this movie ever, wear like some really flimsy clothing. Although there is this one particular scene where she just pretty much essentially rips her top open. She's wearing a shirt underneath, but everyone in the theatre just went, ooh. Like, Christ, how desperate are we to get a hard-on over a movie that we like? Oh my God, a woman in a shirt, be still my beating erection. Okay, I think that'll do. So yeah, hopefully seeing Mr. Holmes tomorrow, and I'm hoping that's going to be a better movie than this one. Although there was a trailer for that movie with this one, and it kind of made it out almost like a romantic comedy, and I'm hoping it won't be. So. Talk about that next time. I'm Felix Jones and Lego Cheetah, and thank you very much for joining me. I'm going to go film the introduction to my review now. Of course, I didn't film it when I filmed the rest of the review because I'm a moron, and my hair is different because I got a haircut, a really drastic haircut. I'm going to be doing I'm going to be wearing a hat, and it's not going to work in the slightest to disguise the fact that I've had a haircut, but just try it. Let's all pretend now that I don't have a haircut. Let's just say after I don't know. You'll see. Anyway, thanks very much for joining me, and I'll see you again very soon. Thank you. Bye.